What's up, everybody? I am Richard.
And I'm Sean.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. I'm going to kick this off right off the top with this crazy story I heard. All right, you ready? Here we go. This is a headline. I saw 2 days ago. Pope urges European military force to be used against Islamic Caliphate.
All right, I thought I saw something over there, but I thought that was just like an Onion headline.
Oh no! This is basically the Pope, the Bishop of the Archbishop of Europe, as he is also known. His Holiness is another name he goes by. Has officially called, in not so many words, has officially called for the next crusade.
Huh. So what prompted this? Just everything going on right now?
Well, I think there were some people in the Islamic world that have decided they're going to form an Islamic caliphate, and so the Pope wants to fight against this, apparently. So he is authorizing, he is using his papal seat to authorize the use of military force. And I don't even know what that means, because like 300-400 years ago, yeah, when the Pope said something, everybody was like, "Ooh."
Well, the Pope was the one getting like kings and stuff in their seats. Like he was really the one kind of pushing for that. But now everything's kind of like established that that's just kind of there. I mean, the Catholic religion is one of the biggest religions, but I don't know if they have the pull as much as they say they or as much as they did back then.
Exactly. So I don't know like what that means. I mean, I think there's a degree that it'll be used as a recruiting tool. Otherwise, they'll be like, "Oh, they're calling for a crusade, so now we have to rally against the infidels."
Yeah, that seems like that's just going to get awkward really quick.
The story I read was this isn't unprecedented. Obviously, the Pope has called for military action. The last time was in 1096 when he called for the Fourth Crusade. It has been unknown up to this point for the Pope to call for military force using Twitter.
Well, maybe he got a direct message from God on his Twitter account, and that's what promoted it.
Your Holiness, what are you doing? I'm tweeting a crusade.
Hashtag get 'em.
Hashtag burn the infidels.
That sounds ridiculous.
So there you go. I've kicked the show off. We are starting the Fifth Crusade. So anybody, you're going to start seeing recruiting posters on the sides of churches. It's going to have the Pope with a finger out. He wants you. So Fifth Crusade, it's on, people. That's what I got.
But like, what if you're not so? Back when the first Crusades were going on, like most people, I guess, were Catholic at that point. But now most probably people in those armies aren't Catholic, so it's just like, oh, I'm not fighting that war. I'm not Catholic.
Yeah, like what do the Lutherans do? They're just like, what? You're not the boss of me. You're the boss of me, Mr. Italian man.
So, he's not Italian. Isn't he from Brazil?
Well, yeah, but he lives in Rome.
Yeah.
He's been repatriated as a Roman citizen.
So that's a great way to start off our 10th episode.
That's right. We're starting it off with a crusade, with a holy mission.
We're on a mission from God.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Blues Brothers?
I love the Blues Brothers.
I've only seen, last time I was home, it was on TV, and I saw like the last bit of it.
200-something miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it. Awesome.
So I think that's pretty cool. We've got the 10 episodes.
I know.
It's gone real well so far, I think. Probably won't pat ourselves on the back the whole show, but I think it's kind of cool.
Well, I think our opinion matters little because
it does,
like I could make you laugh and I can amuse myself and you can make you can amuse yourself and you can amuse me, but Whether or not we entertain anybody else, I mean, that's up for grabs.
Yeah, so if we have the same amount of listeners now as when we get to episode 100, it's going to get here one way or the other.
Right.
So.
I think in the next few, I think we should just spend the entire episode just screaming "Love me" into the microphone. Love me. Why will you people love me?
Hashtag love me. Hashtag eat the beaver. So on a lighter note, we had our horror movie draft, and recently Tiffany and I went to a wedding, and it was at a place that I didn't realize that the wedding was going to be in the same hotel. Like you're married, so like when the wife says, "Hey, we're going to go doing this stuff," you're like, "Okay, whatever." You just kind of have
right?
to
Yeah, you
figure
don't.
it out, and
Yeah.
you don't really ask a bunch of questions. So
you get in the car and she tells you where to drive, and then you get out and
yeah. And so I figured we'd be staying at like a Holiday Inn or something like that. Like that's just what I figured we'd be staying.
okay.
So we're driving up there, and like we get in this small town, and I'm like, is the wedding gonna be in the hotel? Because she said it was. She said it's the hotel, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound like a Holiday Inn to me.
Right.
And so we pull in, and we pull up this road, and it's in this really small town. And this hotel looks basically exactly like, or reminds me exactly of the Shining Hotel.
Oh, the Overlook.
Yeah.
The Overlook Hotel.
So we pull in. I'm kind of like, "Is this the hotel?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, this looks like the hotel from The Shining."
That's creepy.
And so we.
that movie.
And I mean, I was kind of excited. I mean, yeah, this is kind of cool. And it's got like this big like old sign, and it looked like an old hotel, but you never know. I mean.
Right.
Hotels can look old, but it could be 3 years old.
Okay.
So we get in, check in, like everything looks real old. Like they even have an old timey bell that like you hit and ring, and people come out and greet you. And
it's what they use to wake the dead.
Yeah. So we get up to the room, and she's flipping through the thing, and this hotel has been rebuilt twice. So it was built in like 1888, and then it burned down a year later. And so then in 1909,
under mysterious circumstances.
The first time it was a candle, I believe, a candle in the ballroom. The second time, so they rebuilt it, and in 1909, and it burnt down in 1910. And that time was because of the furnace malfunctioning, or I think like the furnace or something like malfunctioning and burnt the hotel down.
So this hotel is burnt down twice.
Burnt down twice. The third time, they moved it back to where it is now. So, like, there's probably a good, like, 2 or 3 city blocks from where the original entrance was. And
okay.
They moved it all the way back because they started building it as they were cleaning up the second part of it getting burnt down.
Okay.
And this one they built in 1912, I believe, and it's been up since.
Okay.
But it was kind of cool. There's a lot of history there because this area was set up for, there's a lot of springs, so a lot of people came to visit for the springs for the healing factor or whatever.
Okay. All right.
But like Al Capone actually even stayed there a bunch.
Ah.
They had a little ghost tour. And it was funny because they were talking.
They had
about
a ghost tour.
Yeah, they had a ghost tour.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was pretty sweet. And the guy was walking around, and he says, like, during this time period, when Al Capone and them came here, it was the dry time, right?
Right.
Or it's during Prohibition.
Prohibition.
And so he said that the cops in the area knew about this, and so they waited until they knew there was going to be like a big party and a lot of people were going to be there. So like, all right, we're setting up a sting. We're going to go in there. We're going to pick everybody up. So these cops, they're driving in like, we're going to get this big ass bust, and they walk in, and there's like a senator, the judge, and then like some other high official of the city, like all at this place drinking. So they kind of like walk in. They're like, oh, well, have fun, guys, and walk out.
We just we heard that there might be another fire, so but seems like you're fine, so we're gonna go.
Bust in, it's like, hands up, and like cuffs the senator, and the senator looks at him, he's like, oh, hi, senator, just playing a joke. Quick, give me the keys.
What do you think, Sergeant O'Malley?
Do you want a drink? No, thank you. But that's what we kind of been on. So it was kind of neat seeing that hotel. I definitely want to go back and check it out.
Were there any creepy twins?
No.
Was there an open bar?
There was an open bar.
Was the bartender's name Lloyd?
I think it was. No, it was. There's a dude to check. I can't remember what his name was. It was funny because like the everybody who was there for the wedding had rooms, so we all go on the ghost tour together, and we get up to the one room, and the guy giving the tour, he's like, so in this room 414 or whatever it was, and everybody looks at this one guy and they're like, Uncle Tim, isn't that your room? He's like, shut up. And so he was just telling some different stories. Nothing was too creepy, and I didn't really see anything, but he says he's had a few weird instances. But I've been on ghost tours before, and normally how they work is like they start out like interesting, like it's a history and like it's like viable. But then as you get going, it's like, oh, you see that convenience store? Yeah, there's the ghost of Susie Joe there. And the one next to it, that's the ghost of the one-handed Mark Frankenstein Jackson, whatever. And you're just kind of like, by that point, you're just like, whatever, just, I'm going to leave.
He always is walking around asking to give away his change. Here's your change. Change. Yeah, that's not that intimidating.
It's not. It really isn't. But I got to spend the whole time in the hotel, so I started watching Boardwalk Empire. I don't know if you've watched much of that at all.
I have not. Yeah, people tell me it's good. And, Steve Buscemi's in that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've liked Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, I got through about 4 or 5 episodes. It was pretty interesting. I mean, it's during Prohibition, so it's kind of just all that corruptness. So it was kind of neat that because I just started it up randomly, and then there's all the stories about Al Capone being there, and Al Capone's actually in that show.
Right. So kind of yeah. I never understood, like, because I mean they had to know Prohibition didn't work at all. And I wonder if they knew that going in. If I don't know what the point of passing the amendment was for Prohibition.
Yeah, it seems like you wonder if there's people that kind of came into that thinking it's like, listen, this stuff's legal now and we can make money on it. How much money do you think we're going to make if we make this illegal?
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the people back then, like how much money do you think a lot of people made during that time period?
Oh, I mean, they were probably making stupid, crazy money. I mean, it's... I just don't see what the point of doing it was, because I mean, if it was I mean even from a simple moral standpoint, I don't see anything where drinking heavily may not be the smartest thing. Drinking heavily and constantly may not be the smartest thing to do, but I haven't seen any I rarely, or actually no, I haven't seen anybody say that it was immoral and the reasons why it was immoral.
I think that was kind of the big push, though. There was a lot of like religious kind of groups and like a lot of women groups that were just they seen the destruction of drinking because just people, I guess, I don't think they'd be any more destructive than they are now, but they just saw a lot of that stuff going on. And I think it was just a way for them to say, hey, we're going to purify our country, and we're going to be a country that isn't blinded by drunkenness. The best part is those like the day before. So like they basically had like a New Year's Eve thing for when the amendment went into effect.
Okay.
And so they're at this big party, so everybody's drinking, everybody's having a good time, and they do the countdown to midnight, and they celebrate it by just popping a bunch of champagne bottles and drinking from the champagne.
Exactly. Everybody, yeah, it seems like the people that it would have affected just basically took it as a joke.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, just so much corruption came out of that, and I think you see that with a lot of other drugs. I'm not a big person saying legalize everything because I don't know if that's the way to do it, but you look at a lot of the crime rates that come from like pot and things like that. But where's the line?
I'm throwing a flag on the play there because I mean, let's look at because to me I think you take, I think something like marijuana, I think it kind of got lumped in with alcohol in the prohibition, like the whole prohibition movement, and then for some reason or another, it kind of got left out when everything was made okay again. I'm not really sure why that is, but I don't know.
When I was just saying the crime, just because of it is illegal, so there's a lot of underground stuff trying to get it in and sell. that's what I'm not saying marijuana specifically the drug is causing those crimes. It's just the selling and importing of that's probably what's causing some crimes. I mean, you see that in Mexico and things like that, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta say I'm probably a big pusher for legalization because I mean not to me I see you should regulate it the same as you should regulate alcohol. I mean I think there's a lot of other like crazier things that are much more damaging and to yourself and much more damaging to others than the marijuana. Personal opinion, but yeah, I think there's a long and checkered past that goes with that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, like you said, like they kind of lump those together. But why is it that marijuana? Like when you compare like marijuana, alcohol, and cigarettes, like the other two I've never smoked pot, but it seems like the other two are more damaging to your health and to your longevity than pot is. But yet, that's kind of what sits out there as the thing that's illegal.
Yeah. You're such a straight arrow.
I am. Like we said, Leonardo's my favorite turtle because he follows the straight and narrow. That's what I do.
I don't think I've ever even seen you drunk. I've seen you buzz drunk, but not drunk.
I mean, I've gotten pretty drunk a handful of times, but yeah, it's not something that it's back to like what we talked about before. Like I've always hung out with people just a little bit older than me. So like when they were like 19 and 20, they were, getting drunk and stuff. At college, but I wasn't old enough to be there. And then, like, when everybody turned 21, they're all going out. And then, like, finally I turned 21. Everybody's like, yeah, we're kind of done with that. I'm like, oh, well, guess I am too then.
I missed the boat.
It's like, hey, I want to go party. Like, oh, God, you're such a 21-year-old. It's like, you're 22 and a half.
Right? Why are you so mature? All right. So, speaking of marijuana legalization, go ahead and take a guess where I am sitting right this very second. Well, okay, but
yeah,
play along, damn it.
Let's see. Last time we talked, you were sitting about 2 hours away from me. Actually, no, last time we talked, yeah, you were sitting about 2 hours away from me.
I was
sitting in a state that's next to my state.
Right.
But are you still there? Are you still in that state?
No, I am not there.
Where are you?
I have since made a very radical decision, and decided to move myself 2,400 miles west. And it's roughly 2,400 because I checked on Google Maps. 2,400 miles west from where I was. I am right now sitting in sunny San Diego, California.
Are you at a medical marijuana dispensary?
Not at the moment. They just hand it to you when you cross the border. They're just like, here's your complimentary plant, and
it's a housewarming plant,
right?
It's just a pot plant.
Welcome to California. Here's your plant.
Here's your plant. Here's your papers.
Thank you. You're so hospitable here. No, yes, I am right now sitting in sunny San Diego. I am actually looking out a back window at the ocean right now as we speak.
And that's probably why you have a better sense of calm and
I am. That's why I'm
happiness.
Exactly. I'm calm and mellow because of the ocean.
Yeah, we've got a nice 96, 98 degree day. Got to mow the lawn and you got to go out and probably 78.
And it's I think weather today is 78 degrees.
I'm jealous. I'm very jealous.
And it's been that way.
And it's always pretty much that way, isn't it?
Yeah. My daughter, was it yesterday or the morning before, she was like, hey, Dad, guess what the temperature is going to be today? I'm like, 70 degrees. She's like, how do you know that? I'm like, because it's Southern California.
It's always 78 degrees.
Always 70 degrees. 70 to 80. So yes, so I have picked up myself and my mi familia, and we have moved across the state. Not only and people are like, well, that's not that radical. People do it all the time. That may be true. People do move all the time. Not a lot of people decide to sell or abandon most of their possessions, and what is left cram into a Airstream camper and pull it 2,400 miles to sunny California, which is what I have done. Embracing the spirit of the 1960 hippies of old. No, you know what? I'll go back further. Embracing the spirit of the pioneers, I have decided to hitch my wagon and head west.
I think you're a mixture of the three. You got the pioneers, you got the beat movement in there, and the hippies. You've got all
Oh
three.
yeah, the beat movement. Forgot about the
Yeah.
beatniks. Manifest destiny.
Just see you out there, just
Right? I got
I think, man.
that's why I own a fedora.
Yeah, well, you got the long hair. You know,
Right.
just put some of that old gel in it and kind of slick it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Write you some poetry.
I'd have to get rid of the beard though, and have to shave it down to just like a Fu Manchu.
Yeah. Well, the beat movement. I mean, they kind of accepted anybody. I mean, you had like extreme hippies.
That's
had,
true.
You know,
That's true.
like Hunter S. Thompson, dudes that just did a lot of drugs. And
Yeah.
Junkie's a good book. I don't know if you've ever read Junkie, but that is a good book.
I have not. Is that about Hunter S. Thompson?
I think he wrote that. I can't remember. It's somebody from the beat movement, but basically it's just about like a heroin addict and just like kind of that. Because the beat movement was weird. There was just like, you had kind of the hippie feel where people were just like free love and, you know, music. And you had people who were like writing poetry. And then you had people who were just like experimenting with all kinds of drugs.
Ironically, right now I'm looking at a picture of Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, and it's like a dude that looks like that is hanging out with guys that look like hippies.
Yeah.
Like Jack Kerouac. Well, Jack
Yeah.
Kerouac, I guess, was more of a country kid kind of looking guy.
Yeah, I'd say that too.
But it was just a weird. I had a class in that in college. And it was just really, really interesting. Like, almost wish you could
Kerouac
have
seemed
that.
kind of cool. Like
Yeah,
Kerouac
yeah.
seemed like a dude like I would want to hang out with.
I read a bit of The Road. I don't know if he wrote all of his books like this, but basically what he did is he had a big ass typewriter with like a big sheet of paper, and he wrote it all in like one big piece,
Yeah.
almost like a scroll.
Right. Oh, it was all on one piece of paper.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Huh.
I think in the movie The Road, you see him doing that because he's just got like a typewriter, he's just typing away on it. It's just like this paper just is like rolling itself on the bottom.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of neat.
Like a scribe. But yes, so I'm sure that everybody is thinking, what the fuck is the matter with this human being? Which ironically, I haven't gotten that here. I don't know why. I don't know if this is just, if it's very commonplace, if this happens a lot, but I haven't really gotten, like, when I'm like, oh yeah, just, I did this and whatever, and people here seem to be like, yeah, that's cool, man. And like, where I was, like, people were like, are you fucking insane? Like, are you on crack?
Well, you look at kind of like, so I'm from the Midwest and you're from the Midwest, and it's very much kind of like, just do what's comfortable, do what you know, and try to stay in your box.
Stay in your box and do your best to keep afloat.
Yeah. Something radical like moving like you did is just like, why would you do that? I mean, and then like you get there.
You're not in your box.
Yeah. Get back in your box.
Get back in your box. What you get in the box? Nope. No.
And,
All right.
I'd probably say 90% of the people in that area are kind of like that. And so it really is easy to fall into that. It's like, well, maybe I should stay in the box because that's what everybody else has done. And they seem to be doing okay.
Yeah.
But then somebody like you, like you're sitting in California right now and it's 78 and you see the ocean. You're like, wait a minute. This can be a big box. Why is it got to be a little box?
Well, I mean, I have a multitude of varying reasons why I've decided to, I guess for lack of a better word, go temporarily insane. But at its core, I would say that there's I think you worded it perfectly, that there there is more than just the box. And I think that if you're willing to deal with a degree of discomfort, you can end up a bit more complete, and you can end up personally happier. Maybe not necessarily socially acceptably happier, because I think I mean, the general definition of happiness and success is, you have someone that, they have a big house, and they have 2 cars, and they have 2.5 kids, and they work, they have, they have their job, and they work their 40 hours a week, and they put in day after day for the occasional, week or 2 off. And then they spend that time, working on the house, and, cooking on the barbecue. And, I mean, it's, as much as we like to say that we've evolved as a culture, I really don't think that we've shifted much past 1955. I think it's just gotten bigger, and it's gotten more complex.
Yeah, I mean, the suburban growth, I mean, that's just kind of what everybody's, because it's safe, it's comfortable, it's, we're creatures of habit, so doing that, you can get into a habit real easy, and before you know it, you've lived 40 to 50 years, and, you call it good, and you get put in the ground.
And it totally is. It's safer. It is safer, and it is comfortable. That's why I said, if you can deal with a degree of discomfort, I think that there's a lot. I mean, I grew up, in the Midwest. I was born in Iowa. I was raised in, I was born in Iowa. I was there for a bit. I was raised pretty much in Illinois, and I don't know if this is true for everyone everywhere, but I think that you don't realize how just this country, just the USA in general, you don't realize how vast and varied this country is. Like, I have pulled a trailer 2,400 miles from the middle of the country to the West Coast, and I was in awe of just going from state to state, how not only people act differently, but just the geography in general. The topography of the land is so. Just going from state to state, they almost seem like completely different places.
Yeah, I mean, basically each state is its own country. To an extent.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, I started in Illinois. We went to Missouri. We drove through Missouri. And you see the field. You see fields, and you see crops and stuff like that, and then you go from there and you get to Oklahoma, and once you get to Oklahoma, you see kind of more like rolling grass fields and big hay bales and things are kind of, it's pretty well flat. You kind of see trees here and there or whatever, and then you go from that to Texas, where you see kind of like scrubland. It's still, I guess you could. I was in the Panhandle, so it was still pretty green. But, it was just kind of like scrub grass, and then you go from there to New Mexico, and New Mexico is wow, because, giant canyons and mountains and the desert. And
did you guys get to see, like, any of the famous, like, landmarks or anything like that yet?
We went past a couple. We stayed. I actually like the thought. I actually like, since we were going this route, I was like, let's do it. Let's do it like they used to. So there's a highway, Interstate 40, which runs directly parallel with the old Route 66.
Okay.
And like when I say directly parallel, I'm on the highway heading west. I'm on the 40, and I can see Route 66 probably 20 feet off, probably I'd say like 50 feet from the shoulder of the road. Nice. You just see this little two-lane little 2-lane highway that just is running right along with where I'm at. And, all the stops were still there, like the old gas stations and the, roadside attractions and stuff like that. I mean, it's
Great American road trip.
It was. It really was. And it's amazing to know. It's cool to know that stuff's still there. And it's also, it also, made me realize how vast this country is. Because, I'm thinking to myself, I've only driven through 10% of all the states we have.
Yeah, it's always kind of been a goal of mine is to try and at least drive through every state and at least see every state. I think that'd be something that'd be pretty sweet to do.
We get to Arizona, and we actually got up in the mountains. I think the highest elevation we got to was about 8,000 feet. So we got up in the mountains, and just going from the Arizona, we went from, kind of, the same kind of stuff you would see in New Mexico. And then once we got up in the mountains, then it was, gigantic pine trees and,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the mountains were fucking gorgeous. And then went from that, as soon as we came down, then we're in the middle of the desert.
So you mentioned this. So you pulled the trailer. It was the first time you've ever driven with a trailer,
It's the first time I've ever towed anything in my life.
So by the time you got to the mountains, did you feel kind of like a pro, or were you just kind of white knuckling it?
I was going up. I was fairly okay. Going down. I was pretty much I'm in the car, and I'm like, nobody move, nobody speak, nobody breathe. And I just kind of, braked all the way down. Because, towing that trailer, fully loaded, that trailer weighed, I think that trailer weighs about 5,000 pounds. Yeah, Arizona was just fucking gorgeous. And then from Arizona, then I hit the California border, which again, it's desert for a while. I'm not gonna lie. I drove straight through the middle of the desert.
Desert feels a lot better than Kansas, though, right?
It did. At least I think it did.
I think it did.
Desert was it was hot. It was so hot. I had the air cranked. I had to turn the air off when I was going up. As I was going up into the mountains, I didn't want to work the engine too hard, so I turned the air off. But yeah, I blasted the air conditioning all through the desert, and I'm looking at my car has a digital readout for the temperature outside, and it was saying 107.
That's warm.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's so weird because temperature was reading 107, and this is I'm going through Arizona. I stayed at a RV park in Arizona that night, and I woke up at I just kind of hung out and fell asleep, and woke up. I think it was 1:30 in the morning or something like that, and the temperature was still 94.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
They say it's a dry heat. Does it still feel hot?
Yeah, it is. It's the desert, so it definitely is. It's a dry heat. Yeah, we actually stayed a night in every state that we passed through. So
that's cool.
So we stayed in Oklahoma. Oklahoma was, honestly, Oklahoma didn't really remind me of anything different than any other place I've been. And, we got to, let's see, after Oklahoma was Texas. Texas, I would say Texas was kind of cool. It was kind of kitschy. We stayed in an RV park in Amarillo, which was right next to the Big Texan. Have you ever heard of the Big Texan? It's the steakhouse which I didn't do the challenge. They have this challenge where they give you a 72-ounce T-bone steak, a baked potato, a salad, and a roll. I want to say that's everything. But if you can finish that meal in under an hour, it's free.
If not, it's $3,000.
Exactly. If not, then it's like, yeah, I think it was like 40, like $35 or something like that, like
That
something
doesn't seem too bad.
ridiculous. But yeah, so we stayed in Amarillo, and then after Texas, we were in New Mexico, and we stayed at this place outside of Albuquerque. And as I was driving through Albuquerque, I saw these signs for a law office, these like big giant billboards for a law office.
All right.
That I saw it and I didn't realize it, but I remember seeing the signs. Apparently, these billboards are they're promotions for the Breaking Bad spinoff called Better Call Saul.
Oh, nice.
So they had these billboards like all over Albuquerque because that's where Breaking Bad. If anybody hasn't seen the show, that's where it takes place. It takes place in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the show's actually filmed or was actually filmed there. And I think actually most of the locations you could actually go to, which I thought about, but I didn't.
Were there any phone numbers or anything on the billboards? I know sometimes with the...
There was a phone number on the billboard. I believe if you call it, there's some voicemail that comes up. I don't remember what it is, but there is, yeah, there's a billboard and it does have a phone number on. I'm sure you could Google. I'm sure anybody could Google it and
yeah, probably could hear whatever it was.
Right. But yeah, New Mexico was breathtaking. I mean, for being a landscape that kind of doesn't have a lot of vegetation, like no like giant trees or anything like that. Like I mean, like people knock the desert, but the desert really does have its own beauty to it. Like you see like different colorations in the stone and stuff like that. This place we stayed at, it had lava rocks. There were like lava rocks everywhere. Nice. Like just all over, like on the ground and stuff like that, like big giant volcanic rock and stuff like that, and it was all like scorched black, and it was cool.
Did you guys end up making it through the Grand Canyon at all?
We did not get to the Grand Canyon. It was a bit out of my way.
Gotcha. I was hoping you said you did, and you kind of did the Clark Griswold. You know, your wife's sitting there looking about. It's like, don't you want to look at it and appreciate it? You stand there for a second, bob up and down. I was like, yep, big hole, let's go.
I did also. The other thing I wanted to do is Hoover Dam. And I want to go on the dam tour with the dam tour guide. I gotta say, I do have to kind of like break this out. I did come, and maybe this is kind of like shattering the fourth wall, but I did come visit you, in Missouri, and I gotta say there was a moment when I pulled up with this RV, or when I pulled up towing this trailer and parked alongside your street, there was a moment that I did feel like Cousin Eddie from like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Kick the door open and be like, Sean!
Well,
Cousin Eddie?
When I did come out that next morning to say bye, you did have a hose into the sewage there. Shitter's full.
I kept saying that at random points throughout the entire trip, and that never got old. That is the one joke that never got old. So like I would just be sitting, we'd be sitting out in like the Arizona desert, and just be like, "Shitter's full."
So did it not get old to you and everybody else that got old to you?
No. Amanda was the same way. Amanda just like died laughing the entire time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was that joke. That was the one joke that never got old the entire trip. But yeah, New Mexico was beautiful. Arizona was interesting because like we're going through the middle of the desert and drove past. You know, they have big wind farms and with the big giant turbines. And we saw on the side of one of the highways we were on there was a solar field. So you just see like miles and miles of solar panels.
Was there any kind of like hum or anything like that?
I couldn't tell. I mean, I'm cruising down going like 65, 70. We did stay at this one park we did stay one night at a park in Arizona. It was like smack in the middle of the desert. Like there wasn't I think the closest town was like the closest gas station I think was like 10 miles away. The closest town was like 20 or 30. So I mean, it's like smack in the middle of the desert, and like I said, I mean, big cactuses. You see like I've never actually seen like a full grown cactus in real life. That was kind of cool. But we pull into the park and we park and everything, and I go to pay and whatever. And the park we stayed at had a pool, and he was like, "Oh, the pool's open." The guy was like, "Oh, the pool's open all hours and everything." He's like, "I would recommend, if you're out at night, I would recommend wearing shoes. Don't wear sandals."
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, "Why can't? What's wrong with sandals?" He's like,
I'm gonna guess scorpions.
Yes.
Yep.
Because at night, because we're basically like this RV park was basically in like a big gravel lot. He said the scorpions love the gravel. They like the heat of the rocks. He's like, so at night you'll see a bunch of them on the gravel, which I actually didn't see any, but yeah, I told that to my kids. I'm like, now make sure you wear shoes at night, or else the scorpions will get you. And they're like, what? What? And they're like, yeah, scorpions.
They're like the band,
and rattlesnakes. There was scorpions and rattlesnakes. He said that was the two things you should watch for.
I've heard that like when you put shoes on and stuff too, you're supposed to shake them to make sure they haven't crawled in there. Because I guess they like to crawl into shoes and stuff at night to just, I don't know if it's safety or it's easier than burrowing into a hole or whatever. But people that were stationed out in the desert, they said they had to do that just to make sure they didn't put their foot in their boot and get stung. I
really didn't know that.
Yep. You're gonna go shake your shoe. There's gonna be one you brought home.
It's been in there the whole time. But yeah, rattlesnakes and scorpions in the desert. The other thing, it's like I said, there was a pool at this park, and my kids wanted to go swimming. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And so my wife goes to take them, and I was, working on some stuff wherever. They all come like herding back, and I'm like, what is it? And they're like, there's bees. And I'm like, bees? It's like, yeah, there's bees like in the pool. And I'm like, well, it's probably, it's probably just a couple or whatever. So I go out there and I go to this, it's just, like a big in-ground pool, and it's outdoors. I mean, the water's warm because it's in the middle of the desert. But I look over on the shallow end where there's, the steps going down into the pool, and in the corner there's this gigantic mass of bees.
Oh, gee, like hovering over the water?
No, they're like in the corner of the pool. It looks
okay.
like I see this gigantic swarm of bees. And I'm gonna say swarm because I'd say there was at least 200.
Oh wow!
Like all in this corner of the pool. So I was like, oh shit! I was like, I didn't know this. So I call the guy that owns the park, and I was like, hey, you should. I was like, I don't know if you knew this, but there's like a giant swarm of bees in your pool. I didn't know if if there was like maybe they built a hive there or something. And he was like, oh, that happens during the day. They're wild bees.
Because is there any other kind of bee?
I'm like, wild bees? He's like, yeah, occasionally in the desert there's roving bands of bees, and they're attracted to water. They're attracted to water in square corners. So they swarm during the day in these corners. They'll swarm during the day in like the corner of that pool. But he's like, oh, don't worry about it. They'll be gone by the time it gets dark. And I'm like, so there's roving, like...
There's rogue bees.
Yeah, there's rogue bees. There's swarming bands of bees that just wander the desert.
I'm imagining, like, back when they had the cartoons, you see the swarm of bees, and they come up to a door, and, like, it turns into a hand and knocks on it.
Right?
See you out there, and it's like, who the fuck's here at this time of night? You look out, it's like, bzz, 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 bzz.
Candygram. Swarm of bees.
Do you have any honey?
Wild bees. So yeah,
Wild bees.
so I was like, okay, this guy's got to be shitting me. So like about an hour, well, I right around sunset, I go back out there, and sure enough, every single bee is gone.
Jeez.
They're all gone. So I was like, holy shit, this guy was telling the truth. It's like there's roving bands of bees out here. I was like, so there's scorpions and rattlesnakes and bees, and then I'm hearing coyotes at night. And I'm like, who would live here?
Don't go out at night. Lock the door.
Yeah. I'm like, they don't have bears or or sharks, but they got bees and scorpions.
They just have things that'll kill you slowly.
Apparently, yeah.
Get attacked by 300 bees and you swell up, or get stung by a scorpion or bit by a rattlesnake.
Yeah, I didn't know. Like he said, scorpions. I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's the desert. They're scorpions. Okay, said rattlesnakes. I'm like, yeah, it's the Southwest. I knew there were going to be snakes, and then yeah, but then I had no clue about the rogue wandering bees.
That's great. Like you're just driving and there's just a wall of bees blocking the way. Like hey, you got to pay the toll.
That was one thing about Oklahoma that bothered me, was the toll roads. I was on toll. Like, I think I put down like $30 in tolls driving across that state. And it was just that state. It's the only state. So, keep that in mind, America.
I think the tolls aren't those privately owned roads or something like that.
I don't know.
Funded.
I don't know if they're private. I have no idea. But yeah, tolls all through Oklahoma. $30. $30 I gave to the state of Oklahoma to drive through it.
Well, they always suck too, because you're going along and you got I gotta stop. You get another 20 minutes down, it's like, I gotta stop again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It'd be crazy to have to live through that too, because you have to buy those passes, and I'm curious how much you have to spend, because you got to get some kind of break on your taxes or something like that. If you have to.
Because, I mean, like, to me, the tolls seem like they're targeting me, a person that's, like, just driving through the state.
Yeah.
But, like, people that live in that state, like, they've got to get some kind of deal for that. They have to.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, then that's ridiculous. That's just basically like a live-in road use tax.
So taxes in Oklahoma, all kinds of goodies in Mexico in the desert. But you finally made it to California.
I did. I made it to California. We made it through the desert, through another set of mountains, and then it's crazy how varied the geography is, because we drove through California. You got the California desert, and it's about 104, 105, and then once we get through the mountains, it's 81. It's just amazing what the ocean breeze does.
Well, you got to see it's amazing what the mountains do with that breeze. Like that's why there's the desert, is because there's big ass mountains that block all that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to see the mountain climate kind of. You got to see desert. You got to see plains. I mean, you're getting to see Pacific now. I mean, you've pretty much seen all the climates there are except rainforest.
Yeah, and each one has its own thing. The one thing I would like. I mean, I was bitching about the desert and scorpions and blah, 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 and wandering bees or whatever. But at night, I was sitting outside and I was having a cigarette, and I looked up, and I haven't seen that many stars in the sky since I was 6 years old. And it was awe-inspiring, to say the least.
Did you make the kids did the kids get to see that too?
Yeah, my oldest has a telescope.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so she set it up, and we were looking at the stars, and I was pointing out constellations and stuff like that. And it's weird. You would think that smaller towns, you would think that you would they talk about this thing, light pollution. That basically the ambient light from things like street lights and street lamps and just people's houses and stuff like that, that it kind of the ambient light of just civilization kind of washes out the night sky, and you don't see a lot of stars. And you look up in the if you go outside and look up at the sky at night, you can kind of, you see stars, and you're like, oh, I don't really notice it. There's stars in the sky, and there's quite a few or whatever. Go out in the middle of nowhere. And by the middle of nowhere, I mean the middle of absolutely far, far, far away from civilization. I was in the smack in the middle of the Arizona desert, and it was breathtaking. like you saw everything, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I imagine it's one of those things like the town that we're from isn't a big town, but you really can't see much stars inside that town.
Right.
My folks live out in the country, and you can see a lot of stars there. But I imagine like comparing like where they live and then like the middle of nowhere in the desert is probably just like night and day.
It
I mean,
is. And that's the thing is like, when I lived in Illinois, I was kind of like, I was about, 15 minutes from a town. And so, I look up and I kind of thought the same thing. I'm like, I see the stars. It doesn't look, but yeah, you see them in the middle of the clear desert sky, and it blows you away. It blows you away how, and like I said, like people talk about light pollution and stuff like that. It's true. It's so true, and you don't realize it until you actually are in the middle of nowhere and see the night sky in all of its glory.
well, you know what the other blinding of it is, right? It's that box. That box is what's blinding it.
It is. It is. It's everybody in their box. You can take that box and sign up for the Crusades. Because the Pope wants you. What you doing, Your Holiness? Tweeting a crusade. Tweeting the next crusade.
Hashtag eat the beaver. Hey, he's a listener.
Hey!
But yeah, it's pretty sweet. I mean, that's I think like we said, we started this thing up as a way for us to kind of keep together, and I'm glad we did it now because I mean, with you moving out there, I mean, if we just started it now, it might be a little bit more difficult to keep this going. But I mean, it's already becoming habit for us. So
It is, and it's like it's probably one of the few times that I'll actually find a chance to reconnect with because to me, like I kind of feel like I've left a chunk of my life behind. I mean, whether and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, for me personally, it's kind of a good thing. But I think that this is a way for me to kind of keep the connection.
yeah,
I guess with that part of myself that, for lack of a better word, I got away from.
yeah, it's a big change. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to be able to say, hey, this is what I want to do with my family. We want to move out here and we want to spend more family time together. I mean, it's awesome. I'm really excited for you guys to be out there.
It is awesome.
And plus, just throwing this out there, you're close to San Diego, and there is a San Diego Comic Con.
There is, isn't there?
I'm gonna knock. You'd be like, "Honey, it's the bees. Just it's the bees." Like, I think
the
it's
wandering bees.
I think it's
Don't
Sean.
open
No, it's the bees.
It's the bees. Don't open it. Don't open the door. That's where the bees are. There's bees out there.
But yeah, like I said, it's our 10th episode. I know we didn't really talk about this move that you're going through anytime recent, but
Well, I like the big reveal. I like the drawing of like the opening of the doors to reveal King Kong.
you just open it up and it's just the beach and the waves.
King Kong.
Did you hear they're redoing King Kong? I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna redo
They
it.
already did. They're doing it again.
I think so. I think it's gonna
So
be
this
like
is
a
King Kong Take 3.
yeah, but I think it's gonna be a prequel that focuses on the island, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, the island was pretty cool.
But well, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about? We got to talk about some haunted hotels and the Pope calling for another crusade and all that jazz.
Let's see. Yeah, went through. So let's see. Talked about Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Route 66. Very cool. If we have any listeners that live in the Southwest and you haven't done it, just do it. Just give yourself a kick and just go and just do Route 66 just for a few miles, and it's I don't know. Like for me, I found it interesting and liberating, and yeah, it was cool.
Did you sing the song "Get Your Kicks on Route 66" the whole way?
I didn't. I did
Oh.
sing. I did sing from Oklahoma as we were passing through Oklahoma, much to my oldest daughter's lament. She's like, "Dad, would you stop saying it?" Me and Amanda are like, "Oklahoma, when the wind comes sweeping down the plain."
Is that the only part you know, or do you actually know the song?
That's the only part I know.
That's probably why she told you to stop.
Probably.
Like, if you could finish the whole song, go for it. But you only
That
don't
wasn't
even know
happening.
A whole verse.
Yeah, that wasn't happening.
All right. Well, I guess we'll take care of a little housekeeping. So if you want to give us a
Housekeeping?
follow.
Housekeeping, you want towel?
No, I want sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want me to jack you off?
What kind of hotel is this? So we're at Language of Bro. If you want to email us, you can email us at languageofbromance@gmail.com. We have our website, languageofbromance.com. Give us a like on Facebook, or where else can you hear us on?
On Stitcher Radio.
Yes, sir. If you use Stitcher or iTunes, just give us a review. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, because, I I think I'm funny.
I've laughed a lot.
And, and we think we're funny, so maybe you think we're funny. And if you think we're funny and we think we're funny, then we should be friends.
I was going to say, if you want to let us know what your favorite episode 1 through 10 is so far, I think that'd be cool. Tweet that out to us.
Oh, that would be cool.
Or send us an email. Just kind of curious which one you thought was our best. And we also have stickers. We have a couple stickers, so if anybody would like to have a sticker, let me know. We can send one your way.
Yes, and there is a sticker in Texas and Arizona.
Nice.
I think I missed New Mexico. And there's so far there's been a few in California, but I'm getting there. I gotta get one on the beach. Gotta find
Just go to Muscle Beach and just put it right on the back of somebody.
I thought about that. Go to Dog Beach and plaster it on a dog's ass. I thought about that too.
Alrighty. Well, I guess that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver.
Woo. And watch out for bees. They kill.